Now we're going to review questions 72 through 79. And I said review because this is basically what we saw during the week. We saw 4 types of transformations. We saw translation, we saw dilation, we saw rotation, and we saw reflection. So I'm going to review all of them. So let's take a look. Graph the image of the figure using the transformation given. Now in the homework, I'm only going to ask for the coordinates of the points, but here I'm going to have all of them. So rotation 180 about the origin. What I'm going to do for rotation, let me get the original points to begin with. So the original coordinates, it doesn't matter which one I'm going to start with. So let's start U, the point U. The original points are -4, +1. Then I look at the point T. The original values are -2, -1. Look up my point S. So -1, -4, and my point V, which is -5, -1. Again, on the homework, I'm going to ask for a specific point. So just look at the 1 point. I look on my notes. When I say notes, I mean question 51 on our notes. Question 51 says rotation 180 degrees, XY becomes -x, -y. What that means is I'm going to switch the sign on my x and my y value. Just switch the signs. If they were positive to begin with, yeah, make them negative. But if they were negative to begin with, in that case, make it positive. So if I wanted to know the values of u prime, it's going to become 4, -1. Notice I switched the signs. The 4 was negative, so I made it into positive. The 1 was positive, so I moved it into negative. If I'm looking at t prime, my coordinates are going to be +2, +1. If I'm looking at s prime, my coordinates are going to be +1, +4. And lastly, if I'm looking at v prime, my coordinates will be +5, +1. If you plot the points, you're going to get an image that it looks like it flipped 180 degrees. Question number 73. Let me get the coordinates to begin with, the original points. If I'm looking at point A, coordinates are 3, 2. If I'm looking at point B, my coordinates are -1, +2. If I look at my point C, this is -2, +1. And lastly, my point D is -1, -1. Those are the original points. I see says dilation of 1.5. Right, my scale factor is more than 1, right? 1.5. So I expect the image to be bigger. What I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply each of my values, my x and my y values, each of them, let me multiply by 1.5. I'm going to use decimals only. So my a prime is going to be 4.5 and 3. I multiplied each times 1.5, right? 3 times 1.5 is 4.5. And then for the y value, 2 times 1.5 gives me 3. For my coordinates of b prime, that's going to give me a -1.5 and 3. I just multiplied each of my values by the scale factor, right? 1.5 in this case. My c prime is going to give me -3 and 1.5. And lastly, d prime, that's going to give me -1.5 and -1.5. Notice I'm using decimals. If you plot these points in the image, it should look like the image got slightly bigger. Then question 74. There's two ways how I can do this. One, I see x plus 1, so that means I'm going to go 1 to the right. Y plus 4, that means I'm going to go up 4. Right? The x value tells me to the right or to the left. Plus means to the right, and minus means to the left. The y value tells me up or down. If it's plus, it goes up. If it's minus, it goes down. So that's why I said 1 to the right, 4 up. So one way we can do this is literally follow the points. If I want to look at h prime, I'm going to go 1 to the right and 4 up. This is my new h prime. My coordinates are -1, 5. I can do the same thing with g prime. Right, I see g, and I'm going to follow. I'm going to go 1 to the right, 4 up. I count my spaces. And this is my new point, g prime. Now, g prime is what? -2, +1. Now, for my point I can do it again. I can do 1 to the right, 4 up, or I can do something else. For right now, my point I, the coordinates of I are 0, -4. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add 1 to the x, and I'm going to add 4 to the y. So that's going to give me that I prime is 1, 0. I can do it mathematically. I can add 1 to the x, and I can add 4 to the y. So it gives me 1, 0. So I can either do it mathematically or just follow the point. 1 to the right and 4 up. If I was to do 1 to the right, 4 up, it's right there. Which you guys can see it is 1, 0. Now for reflection, I can use the formulas. I can use our notes. Y equals -x is one of our special cases. According to our notes, x, y. And when I say it again, notes, I'm talking about question 51. Reflection across y equals -x. It says x wide become -y, -x. So I can do it using our notes. Let's see. The original points are point E is -1, 4. Point D is 1, 2. And point F is -4, 2. Those are the original points. According to our notes, my values are going to become -4, +1, -2, -1, and then -2, +4. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is draw the line y equals -x. I'm literally going to draw that line. And I can count spaces. I can move the letters from one point to the other. If I look at D, is 1.5 from the mirror line. So I count the distance on the other side, and here's D prime. And if you notice, the coordinates are -2, -1. If I look at F, F prime will be here. And if I look at E, is 1.5. So E prime will be here. You see my coordinates? That's what I got. Now let's take a look at question 76 through 79. According to our notes, well, here for translation, all I'm going to do is let me add 4 to the x, subtract 3 from y. So I'm just going to go for my A prime. Let me call this -1, -2. Notice I just added 4 to the x, -5 plus 4, and subtracted 3 from y. My B prime, if I was looking for B prime, will become 0, 1, and C prime will become 1, 0. Rotation 90 clockwise. Let me use my notes. Well, again, when I say notes, I mean question 51 on our notes. 90 clockwise, XY becomes Y negative X. So T prime will become 2, 4. S prime will become 3, 3. And R prime will become 1, 2. Numbers flip, and the number that was X to begin with, switch the sign. Let me also practice dilation. Dilation, here the scale factor is 4. So I'm just going to multiply everything by 4. So H prime, the coordinates of H prime are -4, 0. The coordinates of I prime are -4, 4. J prime, if I was asking for J prime, 0, 4. And lastly, K prime, 4, 0. I multiplied everything by the scale factor, which was 4 in this case. And lastly, let's take a look at 79. According to our rules, reflection across the line y equals -x. Y equals -x. According to question 51, our notes, it says xy becomes -y -x. So T prime, let me do blue instead. Remember, I'm going to switch the signs and I'm going to flip the numbers. So T prime should be -2, +4. S prime will be -4, +4. R prime should be -5, +2. And Q prime will become -1, +1. Let me zoom out. There you go.